In the description, I'm going to leave a link to a fascinating article that talks about Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi and the new Dragon Ball Sparking Zero game that's coming out, and how it's trying to kind of relayer itself as compared to the other more recent games where Xenoverse aimed to focus more on creating your own character, Fighters was supposed to be a 2D, more advanced fighting type of game, and Kakarot was to basically kind of re-energize the whole essence of Legacy of Goku and to have the whole Dragon Ball story retold with some different twists, especially, with the history of Trunks arc. And this was a really good article, and in this video today, I want to have more of an open forum kind of conversation where we are going to talk about nostalgia that we had for Tenkaichi, and I'm going to share my story, and this video is effectively a forum for you guys to discuss with other Dragon Ball fans in the comments section the kind of nostalgic experiences that you guys had. So, without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So, I'll first start off by saying that I never had a PlayStation, so I never played Tenkaichi on the PlayStation. I had a Nintendo Wii. So, my experience playing Tenkaichi really comes with the second game. And to be completely honest with you, going back on Tenkaichi 2, I think Tenkaichi 2 had amazing music. I feel like Tenkaichi 3's music was garbage. I feel like they put no effort into it. I don't know if there was some legal reason or some licensing reason or some reason why they couldn't just use the music they had from the previous game, but for whatever reason, Tenkaichi 3 just had awful music. But outside of music, I felt like Tenkaichi 2 really went in depth with the actual game itself, where if you go back and play the game, you'll actually remember that the game was significantly greater in size in terms of missions. Like, they almost tried to replicate every major Dragon Ball battle that existed, and the roster was massive. And when Tenkaichi 2 came, it was such a drastic improvement over Tenkaichi 1 that fans really lost their minds for this. Now, I can't go into the specifics of what the actual changes were. I can do research and hear what other people say, but I can't give you my own feel for the changes between the first Tenkaichi and the second, because I never played the first one. And from what you guys have been telling me in the comment section over the last few weeks, a lot of you guys have said that I didn't miss out on much and that Tenkaichi 1 wasn't a very good game overall. So I'm going to leave that up for you to share your own personal experiences. I usually like to talk from a position of experience and knowledge instead of just kind of saying what somebody else says. And for that reason, I won't really comment on Tenkaichi 1, but going more into, Tenkaichi 2, I remember that I marathoned that game, and it took me 4 days of almost non-stop playing. I was in middle school when I got the game, and I remember of playing that game for 4 non-stop weeks before I finally got a chance to beat the game. And prior to actually having Tenkaichi 2, I actually played the game at a friend's house, and I remember specifically that the controls were weird because it was a Wii, so I asked to use a GameCube controller, and then I performed a little bit better, but overall I got my ass kicked. But after getting Tenkaichi 2, I never actually got a chance to play with my friends, and then one of the weird things about Tenkaichi 2 is that it was kind of a waste of time for me to get the second one, because in 4 months Tenkaichi 3 came out. So I kind of got the used up Tenkaichi 2. I got the game because I really wanted it, not knowing that Tenkaichi 3 was about to drop. So I really just played the game for about 3 or 4 months, and then the new Tenkaichi came out, and it was a rather interesting experience, to tell you the truth, because looking back on it, the interesting thing about Tenkaichi 3 is that the mechanics improved significantly for the Wii. It got a lot more simplistic, where you don't just aim your remote off the stage. And I feel like because of that, it made the game significantly greater to play overall. But from a storytelling point, they obviously cut back on a lot of corners. I feel like a lot of the animated cutscenes and all that stuff weren't really the funnest to play. But overall, the actual fighting experience was off the charts, where they added more characters, and the one key character that I remember that, people were really looking forward to playing with in Tenkaichi 3 specifically was Future Gohan, because, unless you've played like Sagas or some Dragon Ball game, some really exclusive one that most people probably don't even remember, including myself, Future Gohan has always pretty much been an inaccessible, Dragon Ball character. Let's not get into how horrible, Sagas was. And one thing I'll give Saga's credit for, though, is that they actually had two versions of Gohan. Like, they had, like, a one-armed Future Gohan where he still fights pretty normally, but, like, he fights with one actual arm. And that's something that a lot of Dragon Ball games haven't done. I mean, I remember Kakarot actually managed to, like, have, like, the version of Future Gohan that fights with one arm, but generally, they just give Future Gohan two arms, but then he just uses one of them for combat. But what I really did like about Tenkaichi 3 was it was just purely designed to fight. They cut back on basically all of the other things that were supposed to exist in the other game and really focused on that. Now, I don't remember the exact date that Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out, and I don't remember if it was before or after Tenkaichi 3, because I'm trying to give you a very natural response here. But I will tell you that I remember specifically when I was playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl that one of the amazing highlights is, for Nintendo Wii standards, the Wi-Fi was actually somewhat playable, and I remember playing Brawl with a lot of my friends very often. And this was around the time of Halo 3, this was around the time of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like, this was around the time where games were going through a major development, because prior to the early to mid 2000s, you'd always have to kind of go to one of your friends' houses if you really wanted to, like, play a game. But with the new generation, even though it wasn't very good for modern standards, this is really where gamers started to, like, play online. And I also remember, like, in the next year when I went to high school, that World at War came out, and I didn't have World at War for the dangerous consoles like the PlayStation and the Xbox, but I had it, for the Wii. And I'll be honest with you, like, it was very fun playing World at War for the Wii, but I didn't realize how many things they actually cut for the Wii version, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of regretted getting a Wii, because I had a choice between a PlayStation and an Xbox, and I was kind of too stuck in, like, the nostalgia that I had for other games that when I got a Wii, I immediately kind of regretted it as I started maturing, because when you're in middle school, you're kind of in that child getting older stage, and as a result of it, your tastes change and you want, like, more mature games. But I was still kind of stuck, like, at the beginning, I was still kind of stuck in some of those nostalgic Nintendo, more kid-friendly kind of games that I made that decision with that mindset later to realize that all of my friends were playing, like, the more violent, gory games. And as a result of it, I immediately regretted getting the Wii. I had no idea that there was dismemberment and, the zombie mode was a lot more advanced and all of these extra cool things that they had for the other versions. If I could go back in time, I would have definitely have chosen a 360, and I wouldn't have been a PlayStation person, but I definitely would have chosen a 360, especially for Halo, because everybody was talking about Halo back then. And ultimately, I feel like that hurt my overall experience. But going back to Tenkaichi, I don't want to go on a tangent here. I played that game pretty much religiously. Like, I would play that game every single day for hours. Like, once I'd finish my schoolwork and whatnot, like, late at night, like, I would just be playing that game. And the crazy thing is I literally only played with one character. I only played with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan mostly in Tenkaichi 2, and then in Tenkaichi 3, I played with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and Future Gohan, because Gohan was my favorite character. Gohan was my favorite character for years. I mean, I know I'm marketed as, like, a Piccolo fan, and I really became a Piccolo fan when I was, like, 18, 19. I wasn't, and it's actually around the time I started making videos on this channel, where, like, as I got older, it's one of those things, too, is as you get older, your brain matures, and you start looking at the show, and I'm like, wow, like, this Piccolo guy keeps up with the Saiyans even though he's always disadvantaged, and I just related to his character more, whereas Gohan had all this potential, and he would have these droughts where he wouldn't train. And as I got older, like, I just came to appreciate Piccolo's character a lot more, because he makes the most out of what he has, and he doesn't even have a transformation, at least at the time. But, this is more of an off-the-cuff, I'm just having an honest conversation with you guys. But going back, though, guys, Tenkaichi 3 was a game that I put a lot of hours in, man. I mean, I'm talking, one of the things that I was really anticipating with it was the Wi-Fi play, because when I heard that Tenkaichi 3 was going to have Wi-Fi, I mean, I feel like a lot of Dragon Ball fans lost their mind. The Wii had that, and it turns out it was completely garbage. It was horrible. I did it maybe 7 or 8 times, and it's like you're fighting at 3 frames per second, man. And anybody who's watching this video right now who remembers playing, Tenkaichi 3 and the Wi-Fi for the Wii, you will remember how horrible it was, man. It was a horrific experience because, I mean, you can't, like, the timing of when you do something is so far off from what's actually happening on the screen. It's like you're kind of using like a time skip to kind of predict what you're going to do to your opponent. That is how horrible the Wi-Fi experience was for the Wii. I never had a legitimate fight one time, and all the times I've tried to use Wi-Fi battling on it, and as a result of it, I kind of feel like my talent at Tenkaichi got wasted. Now, granted, I'm older now, but going back then, this is going to sound really egotistical, but I'm just going to leave with this. I thought I was the greatest Tenkaichi player on the planet. I really did, guys. I really thought that I was the best player on planet Earth. If you want to go back to Lilo and Stitch. Like, I thought I was the greatest player ever, and the reason why is because when I played against my friend, who I had told you guys before, when I played Tenkaichi 2, and then I played Tenkaichi 3 against his little brother, he told me that I was the greatest player he'd ever played, and they would have, like, parties at their house playing that game, and one of the things is that I was so good that it was boring for everybody. Like, I went over to his house one of those days to play Tenkaichi 3, and I, like, got almost perfect scores on everybody. I was so good that it was boring. And it was just because I played the game so much that I just figured out certain timings to do combos all on my own. I didn't look on the internet to see how people were finding new combos. Like, I was just, like, analyzing how the characters' movements react to getting hit, and I just found combos on my own. And I've said this before in other videos, but I'll repeat it for those who haven't heard. There was a combo I discovered with Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan, because he was really the only character I played besides Future Gohan, and the combo I realized is that with a certain timing of the animation, if you hit your opponent away, and you time it perfectly with the Father-Son Kamehameha, it has a 100% success rate. I remember I would do this on my opponents all the time, and they would hate fighting me because all I have to do is hit them away, and then I immediately, like, take out half their health. Because I would save up the Father-Son Kamehameha just to take out, like, half their health. And, like, I would defeat my opponent with, like, 2 major combos. Like, that's how insane it was. And the game had its issues because, obviously it wasn't updated like modern games where, like, they nerfed the mechanics and all that stuff, and there really was no online community for the game because, it was really in its prehistoric stages. And, Tenkaichi 3 was really, like, the last major nostalgic game that I had, because after that, all of the games that I had were more mature, and I was getting closer to an adult in age, and it's one of those things where it's like, I really regretted having a Wii, outside of Smash Bros. Brawl, because I still had a lot of fun with Brawl, but, a lot of the games that my friends grew up playing, I never really got a chance to experience a lot of them because I was kind of boxed into the Nintendo. And now, as I'm older, I've pretty much been in the PC Master Race room for pretty much about a decade now, where I've either had a gaming laptop or a desktop now, or both. And as a result of it, I don't think I'm ever going to go back because I just feel like the gaming experience overall is more customizable, the graphics look better, and it's just more fluid because, the frame rates, everything. Like, I just feel like all of this combined with the fact that you could use your computer for much more things than just gaming, I just think it's a superior way of playing games. You're free to disagree with me, but I've always felt like consoles have just been inferior ever since I got a chance to actually play them. But overall, guys, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this. I felt like I was the best player in the world. Never got a chance to do it. In a couple of days, I'm probably going to do a video about GTA 6. I'm not sure how it's going to perform on this channel because it's not Dragon Ball, but I am curious to see how you guys would react, because I have a very strong opinion about the trailer for GTA 6, and I also have a very, very strong opinion about GTA 5, and as a result of it, I feel like I could really contribute some interesting opinions, but we'll see how that turns out. But until next time, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. Now, as a post-edit, I completely forgot to mention something else here, too, and it was also the whole destruction point system, where, like, the way it would work on Tenkaichi is that certain characters were just better than others. So if you have a character that has more destruction points, they could fight better. And I remember, if I remember correctly, for Broly, you have to have, like, 9 destruction points for him to flinch. If you fight against Broly, and you're using a character that has lower destruction points, like, he won't even budge, like, when you're hurting him. And here's to tell you something, guys. I gotta brag, because I'm having fun bragging today. And this is our time to brag together in the comment section and tell your stories of Tenkaichi. But I got so good at playing Tenkaichi that I would challenge myself by occasionally playing with weaker characters with a lower destruction point against stronger characters, just to see how well I could do. That's how bored I got. Because one of the things about Tenkaichi, man, is that at a certain point, and I'm sure we all kind of felt this, like, the game kind of just felt empty, where it's like, you have no friends in real life to really play this with, at least consistently. Like, you could play with them every few weeks on the weekend or something like that, but, like, you can't, like, play on your own. You can't play people online when you want, whenever you want, which is one of the reasons why I feel like a lot of fans are going to have a lot of fun with this, because a lot of people back then had great talent at Tenkaichi, and it was never really put into use. Now, granted, Raging Blast came around, and I never got a chance to own Raging Blast, even though I played it with some friends sometimes. But overall, though, you know, I kind of feel like that's one of the reasons why a lot of fans out there, you know, feel like this game is really hitting home, because we're kind of getting a chance to relive something that we really never got a chance to do in our youth. Like, we have nostalgia for playing the game and, you know, going through all those different modes and unlocking all the characters and all that stuff, but the actual aspect of competing never really existed for Tenkaichi outside of just a few friends. And as a result of that, I think that is the #1 reason why people are looking forward to playing this game.